Ash Wednesday is a very unusual day. It's the one moment of the year when all of us as Christians stop and we say out loud that we know we are mortal and we know that we're going to die. We don't go around talking like that the rest of the year, but today we do. We remind ourselves of the fact that unlike all the other days of the year, when we keep death at arm's length, this is a day that we remember death. We face that our loved ones will die and that we ourselves will die. And this morning at St. James School, we had a chapel assembly for 400 students who all received ashes. And so I told 400 children this news as well, and they took it pretty well. Back in the 1990s, when my dad died, it turned my world upside down. It woke me up and made me not want to live the way that I had been living anymore, a way that suddenly felt too small and self-involved. Because I saw how God was with my dad in those final 3 years, so close as he struggled with cancer, rearranging his heart so beautifully day by day and making him new. And I wanted to be closer to God in that same way too. So after he died, I started going to church, and to the surprise of my children, they started going to church, and our lives completely changed. I began a long road that led me here. So I feel that losing my dad, in a way, taught me how to live. And loss continues. Last year, I lost my mother after a long, long illness, and we lost so many very, very dear members of this parish in the past year. And just weeks ago, our beloved Father John lost his father. And these losses are hard. And I know that when I talk about loss, you're thinking about the things and the people that you grieve, and you feel those losses in your heart. Nowadays, for me, death is real and loss is real. The pandemic made that message so devastatingly clear, and the wars now being waged on multiple continents do the same. Here is why it's important to face the fact of death, even though as Americans we don't like to. Because when we stop and realize all this will end, well, then we want to use the time that we have really, really well, don't we? I mean, that sounds obvious, and yet think about the time we waste, the time that we live not in a state of appreciation and awareness. So when we think about the shortness of life, we want to live the time that we have beautifully and let it be so worthwhile. And that means that we don't want to cling to lingering grudges, hurts, bad feeling. We want to throw that weight overboard if we can, so that the time that we have left is free for loving, not hating. So if we want to offload all of those feelings that weigh us down, what's the quickest way? It's forgiveness. There's a saying that life is very, very, very short. Forgive more. And I think that's it. It's so simple and yet so almost impossibly hard, but we ask God to forgive us for what we've done and left undone, and we ask God to help us forgive others. And this forgiveness, it changes us. It changes everything. When we start focusing on forgiving ourselves, forgiving others, we're turning away from darkness, we're turning toward light, exactly what Jesus came to convince us to do, to change our lives, to open them up to love. So you could say that knowing that we will die is a kind of a blessing, because if we can hold on to knowing it, then it can help us live better lives now, lives that will delight God, the God who made us, and delight the people that God sent for us to love. And make us want to spread that love more and more in this hurting world that is dying for love. So, tonight, we'll hear the words, the famous words, "Remember your dust, and to dust you shall return." Good words to help us turn and turn again right now toward forgiveness and love.